Hello once again, everybody. Thank you for joining me in the Bettor's Box. It's BangTheBook.com's MLB betting podcast for Monday, June 10th. I'm your host, Adam Burke. This and every edition of the Bettor's Box presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB, the number 200 is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the Sportsbook. 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino. At BetDSI, it's only a game until you bet it. Monday, Thursday format here with the Bettor's Box, giving this a second try here because Blog Talk Radio decided to hold this afternoon's audio hostage. So I apologize for the late release of today's show. Some of you may get a duplicate of the show if you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or whatever iTunes is now. So I do apologize for that, but wanted to re-record this, try to get it out here for you today since they're doing whatever the hell it is that they're doing over there. In any event, Monday Mailbag will start us off today at Skating Tripods on Twitter or Adam at BangTheBook.com via email if you want to subscribe to the notes for the show or if you have any questions for the Monday Mailbag. My MLB picks and tips piece updated on the daily over at BangTheBook.com. NBA Finals previews from Admir Algic for as long as that series goes. And one more time on Wednesday with Parker Michaels for Game 7 of the Blues-Bruins Stanley Cup Finals. Tuesday, we'll chat with Brad Powers about the upcoming college football season. We'll talk about some of the lines that are already out there, season win totals, how to set up power ratings, how to prepare for the year, stuff like that. Wednesday, we'll chat U.S. Open with Brian Blessing. Then another edition of the Bettor's Box will come your way on Thursday. All right, our format here for today's show, we'll start with the Monday Mailbag. Got a couple of questions with that. Then we'll go beyond the box score, go down the lines, recap line moves from this past weekend, give you a pick for Monday night, and then we'll go ahead and talk about some series coming up here this week. So, again, I apologize for Blog Talk Radio doing its shenanigans, trying to get this out to you as quickly as possible here. Monday Mailbag, 2 questions from Tyler via email. Says, with the daily MLB picks, is there a reason you strayed away from doing your half unit, 1 unit, etc., 3 unit plays? Now you just make them all 3 units. I know you were stuck from the beginning of the year, but it seems like the plays you semi-like or have a lean where in the past you'd put a 1 unit play on, you're not even doing anymore and stay away. I think this is hurting you a good amount because those picks have been doing pretty well on guys that we're looking to fade. And instead of betting them, you're staying away and only doing 3 unit plays instead. You're a lot more knowledgeable than me in this area, so I figured I would get your opinion on it or maybe try to help you out if you are chasing and try to get you back to basics. I'm not chasing. These are 3% plays. They are not 3 unit plays. 1% is not a unit for me. My plays are 3% plays. That is my unit size. So I am not chasing. I am not betting more than I was early on in the season. I've simply taken away the leans, the 1 and 2% plays. Why is that? Because I came to the conscious decision that if it's not good enough to be bet for my usual full amount, why am I playing it? Why is it good enough at that point to put money on it all? So instead of doing all these leans and these 1% plays, simplifying, streamlining, playing only the things that are worth playing for the full amount. These have always been 3% plays, so I'm not chasing with 3 unit plays. I'm not trying to catch up on the early season losses. That's never something that you want to do, never something that I would advocate. These are 3% plays. And all plays are 3% now because I'm not doing the leans because, like I said, if it's not good enough to be a full-fledged pick, then what's the point? Why would I do that? You know, especially early on in the year with a question, a crisis of confidence in some respects, if you're just kind of reaching out there saying, well, I kind of like this, you can get yourself in trouble a lot that way. You want to be on plays where you say, I like this, I'm playing this. So that's why it's only 3% plays. Again, not 3 unit plays. I cannot stress that enough. They are not 3 unit plays. I am not chasing. I am not trying to catch up on early season losses. Playing 3% plays as I have all along with the things that qualify as picks. Second part of the question here from Tyler says, if you could talk about bankroll managing and bigger or smaller plays and how to limit yourself on a daily basis. Look, we're not calculating our exact edges with the picks and tips article. If you're doing that, you're going to have variances in bet size because you're going to use a fraction of the Kelly criterion. You're going to have a model or some other system that converts into an actual winning percentage. So you compare your winning percentage by converting that to a line to what's out there in the marketplace, and you bet accordingly based on that edge. Because we're not doing that, I advocate a flat betting strategy, which is 3% here this year. And again, going with 3%, going with the flat betting, because it was largely arbitrary for me to say, well, this is a lean or this is a stronger lean. I didn't have a defining factor. It was just sort of, well, I feel like I don't like this enough. Wasn't calculating what my exact edge is. So there's really no equity in that regard, in my estimation, to be doing 1%, 2%, and 3% plays. If I like it, it's a play, it's 3%, period. Flat betting with that style. Now, of course, by flat betting, it's a little bit different when you talk about baseball and moneyline sport, because obviously you're going to have, minus 125 on one game, plus 125 on another game, something like that. To win 3% on favorites or totals with juice, and then 3% on underdogs or anything with plus money is what I'm doing here. Keep in mind that, look, even when somebody sells a game of the year play, yes, it's a sales ploy for the most part, but let's say your biggest edge over the course of a season is what? Maybe 3.5% to 4% off the line, something like that. A lot of your plays, you will have a 1 or a 2% edge at most if you feel like it's off from the market. You think about a minus 150, if you think that line should be minus 185, that's a 5% edge. Based on the number that you've calculated, it's 35 cents worth of juice. It feels like it should be bigger than that, but it isn't. And also, if you estimate that play to have an implied probability of 65%, you got to figure it's going to lose 35% of the time. So you don't want to step out all that far on those plays that you perceive to have really big edges. So if you want to, from your bankroll, bet bigger and bet smaller, that's fine. But keep in mind, you do not know what your actual edge is unless you're using some sort of model calculating something in that regard. So like I said, I just felt that, look, it was an arbitrary thing for me saying, well, this is 1%, this is 2%, this is 3%. So I just whittled it down. I looked at what I was doing with the card, looked at a lot of the 1%ers that weren't coming through or the 2%ers that weren't coming through and saying, if I don't have enough confidence to make this a full-on play, why am I playing it? And that's one of the differences for me because I'm not calculating my exact edge. So again, for a lot of people, it's just going to largely be arbitrary. You're not going to have enough conviction, so you're going to say, well, I'm going to bet a half unit here. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's not really what I wanted to do here with the picks for the article and the things I talk about here on Bang the Book Radio. If you want to do that, by all means, go ahead. But again, you have to understand what it is that you want to achieve in this industry. Do you want to become a professional at it? Well, you're probably going to need to put something together to where you can calculate your exact edge and then bet accordingly. Do you want to use it as a supplement and handicap games and flat bet? Do that. If you want to use it as a second income, you're going to take it a little bit more seriously. If you want to do it for fun, well, then you're probably already doing it in the manner that you should. So that's very important here. And it's always good to have a refresher on these types of things that you have to understand that your edges are generally pretty small compared to what the market line is, whether you're calculating them or not. So you really don't want to step out a whole lot. If there's something you feel like is an absolute must, then yeah, maybe you go up a little bit. But for the most part, I think flat betting would be a good strategy for a lot of novice bettors that are out there. Focus on getting out in front of the market, focus on beating the numbers. Look for those opportunities where you can help yourself. But, if you're just willy-nilly increasing your plays or increasing your bet size or decreasing your bet size, why? You don't know what your exact edge is. So that's why I'm just going with the 3% flat system here now to the point where, again, if I don't have enough conviction to make a full-on play on it, what's the point? This wasn't a mailbag question, but I do want to talk about this real quickly here. In terms of openers, we've had a couple of winners canceled because of openers and pitching changes. We had a couple of losers canceled that way as well. But I just want to mention here that while they can't be official plays for the spreadsheet, because once the picks article goes out, that's it. It's done for the day. That is what it is. If there are openers, if there are pitching changes, those are graded no action in the spreadsheet. But for the most part, now maybe for first 5 overs or something like that, it's something that would kind of alter my thinking some. But for full game totals and full side plays, the opener doesn't really have that substantial of an impact on my thoughts. Again, keep in mind, as I talked about last Thursday, second time for a second plate appearance against a reliever, 277 average, 345 on base, 484 slugging. Third time through, 296, 364, 496. Openers, by and large, are required because the guy that you want to start isn't good enough. He's not going to turn that lineup over a third time. You don't want him to be coming out of the game in the fourth inning, and then you have to scramble for relievers. So you hope that you can work that guy a little bit deeper into the game. Well, most of the time, that guy's just not very good. And we're handicapping based on bulk relievers now when we do see these opener situations. So even though these aren't official plays for the spreadsheet, probably still plays that I'm going to look at here. And again, keep in mind, the scoring by inning this year, 3rd, 6th, 8th, 7th, 4th, and then the first inning. So the first inning not really having nearly as much of an impact this year as it's had in previous seasons. So, again, not official plays for the spreadsheet, but just keep in mind that it is a game that I'm probably still interested in. All right, let's go beyond the box score here. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays taking 3 out of 4 from the Boston Red Sox. Double opener for the Rays essentially in Game 2 of that doubleheader. Went with an opener, second reliever, then bulk reliever Austin Pruitt, who wound up giving them 5 1/3 in that one. But the Red Sox in this series only scored 9 runs in 4 games. They were 5 for 36 with a runner in scoring position, struck out 37 times, walked 10 times. The Red Sox only hit 1 home run in the series. It was in the 8th inning off Ryan Yarbrough, third time through the order, and they only had 8 doubles. And this is what the Rays can do to you. The Rays are one of the most adept organizations in baseball at limiting hard contact against. And that's one of the reasons why they've had so much success on the pitching side here this season, is that they don't allow those extra base hits. Only 9 of them here in this 4-game series against a very, very good Boston Red Sox team. So keep that in mind with Tampa Bay. If they're playing teams that generally hit for a high slugging percentage, they're probably going to cut that down. And if they're facing a team that doesn't hit for a high slugging percentage, they're probably going to keep that low. So maybe miss the boat a little bit here with the Rays in this series, but something I will be following up on here as we go forward. One quick thing I do want to mention, Yonny Chirinos and Ryan Yarbrough, both very good in their starts in this series. Yarbrough's been terrific since he came back from AAA. In 27 games since Tyler Glasnow went on the DL, they've used 10 openers. Ryan Stanek has been that guy 9 times. Hunter Wood was that guy once as well. But Chirinos and Yarbrough have 3 starts apiece over those 27 games. So the Rays are kind of moving away from the opener a little bit. Obviously, Blake Snell and Charlie Morton don't need them. Chirinos and Yarbrough doing just fine now. We'll see Glasnow back probably in July. But it's a pretty interesting development that more teams are going to the opener now, and the Rays are starting to shy away from it some. So that's a pretty interesting development here, and something I think is worth keeping in mind with Tampa Bay in the short term. The Indians took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, and they showed some great fight in Game 3. You know, they were down 5-0 early, and as you look at this team, this offense is gradually coming together. Oscar Mercado batting at the top of the order, putting up good numbers. Jordan Luplow, a middle-of-the-order bat now. He's almost single-handedly helped them with their platoon splits against lefties. And Daniel Johnson's coming up very soon for Leonis Martin. He'll likely get DFA'd or put on the IL or something like that. Daniel Johnson hitting very well at AAA right now. The Indians are getting more athletic, more toolsy. Mercado's a guy with speed. Luplow had a nice catch in the game the other day. He's hitting for some power. Johnson's an athlete. They're getting a lot more interesting on the offensive side of things, and the pitching factory is still in full swing. Zach Plesac with a great game here in this series. Slider percentage up to 21.6% in that start. Steady increase over his 3 starts. So the Indians really looking to deepen that arsenal with a good fastball with plus command, a plus changeup. Plesac looks like a guy that belongs here. And, you know, he's had 3 starts against some pretty decent lineups so far with Boston and the Yankees, and also faced the White Sox. So maybe there's still a little bit of value on him as we go forward, but that value may be gobbled up pretty quickly with how he's looked here so far. Shane Bieber did see regression in Game 3. ERA is north of 4. May have missed the boat on that one, but did give up 5 runs. Didn't make it out of the second inning. Been talking about that X-level regression for him. Seems like it's kind of coming to fruition here with a couple of rough starts recently. Now you look at the Yankees, and now Domingo Germán's on the IL. He has a hip injury. CC Sabathia, he doesn't look right. The command's not there. So many injuries for this Yankees team, both offensively and in the lineup. It's been a rough year for them. And kudos to them for being in the position that they're in because of the depth that they've created organizationally. But now Herman to the IL. Loai Sega's been on the IL. They're just running out of arms. They're running out of bodies there. Didn't get Dallas Keuchel. He winds up going to the Braves. So watch the Yankees here. As that lineup gets healthier, they may become a lot more of an over team, in particular at home, where their offense really hasn't lived up to its usual level here so far this season. And also road offenses haven't lived up to their usual levels either. Speaking of New York, let's talk about the other team here, the Mets. They take 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. Maybe the Mets are coming along a little bit. Jacob deGrom, 6 good innings from him. They didn't strike out against Antonio Senzatella, but weren't able to generate enough offense. Did find a way to lose that game despite 6 innings and 10 Ks from deGrom. Steven Matz with 10 strikeouts in a game that we were on Saturday. And then Noah Syndergaard, 7 innings, 1 hit. If the Mets get any kind of offense here, this starting rotation rounding back into form, Thor's looking better, Wheeler's looking a little bit more consistent, looking pretty good on the starting pitcher side. Obviously, we'll see what Jason Vargas does at Yankee Stadium tonight. But when you look at the Colorado Rockies here, I'm amazed that they're above 500. They've gotten nothing from Kyle Freeland. Herman Marquez has struggled again at home. John Gray's been a little bit better. Senzatella is what he is, a pitch-to-contact kind of guy. Tyler Anderson's been hurt. Jeff Hoffman's giving them virtually nothing. I'm surprised this Rockies team's over 500, and maybe that's a good sign going forward. I'm not sure. I don't know, how sustainable this current pace is. Looking at the Mets standpoint, again, I thought that their offense has had pretty poor luck on high velocity. Should be a team kind of coming around here sooner rather than later. Maybe this series was the start of it for them. What an embarrassing series for the Toronto Blue Jays. Swept by the Diamondbacks, outscored 22-4, facing Merrill Kelly, Zach Greinke, and then Robbie Ray. And the young kids for this team aren't really getting it done. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 248 average, 313 on base, 445 slugging. That's not terrible. Not really where you would expect him to be. Kevon Biggio, 158 average, 319 on base, 237 slugging. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has been pretty good, but it's just a low on-base percentage lineup. Randall Grichuk looks terrible. The Blue Jays just might be the worst team in baseball. The lineup is awful. The rotation is really taking a step back with Marcus Stroman falling off. Trent Thornton just can't put it all together. The bullpen's not particularly good. They might be the worst team in baseball. And they may be a pure straight fade candidate here. Obviously the Raptors taking over the city right now. I don't think anyone's going to come around to the Blue Jays here at any point this summer. So they may be a straight fade team. We'll see if we get some decent prices, particularly to fade them there at Rogers Center, where other offenses are just going to be better than them. It's a good offensive ballpark, but other offenses are just going to outshine them up there north of the border. Nationals and Padres split their 4 games. Patrick Corbin, little iffy in game 1, walked 5. Padres drew 7 walks in that first game. They only drew 3 walks the rest of the way in this series. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Sean Doolittle with the blown save in game 2. Then Scherzer and Strasburg just dominate the Padres and that right-handed heavy lineup in the last 2 games. The Nationals very easily could have swept this series. Corbin was a little bit erratic with the control. Nationals got 4 runs in that one. Just wasn't enough. They lost 5-4. Then the Doolittle blown save. They're on the cusp. They've got so much talent in that rotation, so much talent in that lineup. They're on the cusp. They've been playing much, much better here of late. We'll see what they do with the White Sox in this little abbreviated series, but the Nationals are right there. They need something else. I don't know if it's Craig Kimbrell or if it's something else, but they just need something to spark that bullpen, give them a little bit of confidence in terms of protecting leads. I think they'll be right there to, maybe make a run here in the National League East. Finally, the Cubs swept the Cardinals. The John Lester fade continued, but Jack Flaherty was terrible, so went with the wrong thing there. Was looking at the Cardinals for that game on Saturday, didn't get there. The first 5 over came very easy. So John Lester still didn't pitch well, but I made the wrong call there with the first 5, or with the Cardinals instead of the first 5 over. Kyle Hendricks, terrific on Sunday night, shoved once again. But the thing that really stands out to me about the Cubs here, and this is something that we all know about, but just to see it kind of quantified, this offense is ridiculous. On Sunday, after Sunday's game, everybody in the lineup, except for Kyle Hendricks, 339 or higher on base percentage. Jason Hayward, the lowest slugging percentage at 420. There's very little margin for error when you face this Cubs lineup these days. Very, very strong offensive team. Got to keep that in mind. Again, they're going to draw a lot of walks. They're going to hit for some power. Rizzo and Schwarber batting leadoff here in this series. A lot of talent here in this lineup, to say the least. And, when they face bad pitching, they should be able to hit it. And right now, the Cardinals don't have very good pitching in that starting rotation. And Flaherty surprises me that he's been as bad as he has. We'll see if, he's able to right the ship here over the summer. But he's really been a disappointment so far this season. Let's talk about runners in scoring position here. Let's sort of look for some positive and negative regression candidates in terms of those key run-scoring situations. So we start with the teams that have the most plate appearances with a runner in scoring position. They are Red Sox with 688. Now, I'm also going to go through their WOBA and BABIP ranks, weighted on base average and batting average on balls in play, as we roll through here. And I'll touch on some of the teams that are positive or negative outliers based on what I'm seeing here in the metrics. So the Red Sox get 688. That's the most plate appearances with a runner in scoring position. They're 17th in WOBA, 11th in BABIP. Rangers 668, second in WOBA, and fourth in BABIP. So they've been very, very good when they've had those chances. The Rays 666, they're 18th in WOBA, 16th in BABIP. The Diamondbacks 662, fifth in WOBA, 13th in BABIP. Now this is a team that has walked at a much, much higher rate with men in scoring position than they have with the bases empty. So they've been very aggressive with the bases empty, trying to hit their way on base. They've been more patient with runners in scoring position. I don't think a top 5 WOBA is sustainable for them offensively. I think they are something of a regression candidate. So maybe Diamondbacks unders or just outright looking to fade them, as I think their runners in scoring position numbers will normalize a little bit here over the next little while. The Astros, 659, but they are 19th in WOBA and 29th in BABIP. As they get healthy, this offense should step it up a couple more clicks. I do think that the Astros are a positive regression candidate with runners in scoring position. Similarly, the Angels as well, 658 plate appearances with a runner in scoring position, 20th in WOBA, 30th in batting average on balls in play. So they've had a very little batted ball luck in those high leverage situations. So the Angels, a positive regression candidate as well. And we've probably seen the market latch onto this a little bit as the Angels have taken a lot of money here recently. Dodgers, 655, they're 11th in WOBA, 14th in BABIP. Rockies, 633, they're third in WOBA and second in BABIP. Coors Field certainly playing a role there. The Braves, 632 number of plate appearances, 25th in WOBA, 22nd in BABIP. The Braves are a positive regression candidate to me as well. Nationals, 628, fourth in WOBA, 12th in BABIP. Maybe a little bit of a negative regression candidate there because they're just getting a lot of extra base hits and things with men in scoring position. Maybe that does level off a little bit. The Mets also 628, 14th in WOBA, 9th in BABIP. And the Pirates, 628, 22nd in WOBA, 25th in BABIP. So as far as the most plate appearance, I think the Diamondbacks are a negative regression candidate to a smaller degree than Nationals. The positive regression candidates would be the Astros, Angels, and the Braves. Now let's look at the group with the fewest plate appearances with a runner in scoring position. The Padres with 461. They have 43 fewer plate appearances with a man in scoring position than anybody else in baseball, largely because they don't walk and they strike out a ton. So when they get guys on first, they don't move them, and they don't really get those free base runners. But they are 12th in WOBA. They're just also 23rd in BABIP. So the Padres, again, long-term sustainability concerns for me about their offense and about their pitching staff, as I've mentioned many times over. The Blue Jays, 504, 27th in WOBA, 19th in BABIP. The Marlins, 531, 29th in WOBA, but 10th in BABIP. So they're a little bit of a regression candidate, I think. They don't hit for very much power. They've had some luck with balls getting through, but I wouldn't expect that to continue with their offensive personnel. The Reds, 535 plate appearances, 7th in WOBA and 1st in BABIP. They are a very interesting case study in cluster luck. They've been awful with the bases empty, and they've been exceptional with men in scoring position. So you would think that these two extremes would kind of meet in the middle somewhere where they would get better at getting guys on base, but drop off at cashing in on those chances. So we'll see what happens with the Reds here going forward. I think they could be a negative regression candidate with men in scoring position, but they should get more of those chances as the season goes along. So even with negative regression, more chances, more opportunities, they may stay at the level that they're at, but just because they have more chances, not because they're having as much success. Giants 538, 26th in WOBA, 24th in BABIP. Orioles 561, 24th and 28th. A's 566, 21st and 18th. White Sox 569. They're 23rd in WOBA and 8th in batting average and balls in play. So they're just not hitting for any power in those runners in score position situations, but they are getting some hits. Maybe that does change as things warm up a little bit on the south side there of Chicago. Cardinals 567, 15th in WOBA, 7th in BABIP. And the Indians 587, 28th in WOBA, 21st in BABIP. They're a positive regression candidate as well, simply because the quality of their lineup is increasing here as they get some of those call-ups, and hopefully if Jose Ramirez ever figures it out. So again, the regression candidates there for the fewest plate appearances. The Reds are one. The Padres could be one as well from a power standpoint. I do think the Indians do get a little bit better in that split. All right, let's go down the lines and get some line moves here dating back to the weekend. On Friday, we saw a big Cole Hamels fade market on the Cardinals there against the left-hander in Hamels. That one didn't work out for the market as the Cubs took care of business there. Very heavy money on Tyler Mahle and the Reds against the Phillies. A fade of Zach Eflin there, I would say. Fade of the Phillies coming back off of a road trip as well. So, the Reds, great pitching this year, but it was another one of those games where the hitting just didn't match up. The Nationals and Eric Fetty took money against the Padres and Nick Margevicius. That was the Nationals taking money against lefties. I would expect to see this a lot as they do have a top 5 offense in that split. Heavy Rays money came in on Friday. Yanni Chirinos against Rick Porcello. Fade of Porcello. I don't think the market's really in love with Chirinos, who is something of a regression candidate. That was probably more just a fade of Rick Porcello there. Angels and Andrew Heaney took a lot of money on Friday against Marco Gonzalez and the Mariners. I thought that line got too high. Gonzalez, though, is a straight fade candidate in the marketplace right now. He's had some pretty bad starts of late. Velocity decrease. The Mariners are a train wreck, as we all know. People expect the Angels to get better. They've taken a lot of money. Kind of a perfect storm situation there in that one. Saturday, we saw Zach Davies' money come in against Jordan Lyles. Jordan Lyles now on the injured list. That was released here this afternoon. We'll see what happens with Zach Davies the next time he's not facing Jordan Lyles. Second straight start that he was. Davies, a big regression candidate. I expect the market to bet against him here next weekend when he's back on the mound. Very, very heavy Max Scherzer money against the San Diego Padres and Eric Lauer. Not a surprise. Scherzer dominates righties. Padres right-handed heavy. Nationals against the lefty and Lauer again. That was one where we were on a derivative play for the first 5-run line. That one did come in for us. We did see some doubleheader line moves based on lineups, pitching matchups, etc. Last year, it was a very profitable angle early in the season to play the team that lost Game 1. Well, this year, the team that lost Game 1, only 6-6 in Game 2. So not really anything actionable coming out of that here so far this season. So on Sunday, we saw money come in on Jeff Hoffman and the Colorado Rockies. That did not work out against Noah Syndergaard and the Mets. Another Pirates fade on Sunday. The market doesn't like this team. They are a Pythagorean win-loss outlier. They are a team that you really don't want to back unless you feel like you absolutely have to if some of their prices wind up getting too big. But right now, there's not much confidence in Pittsburgh in the investment community. Saw some heavy money on Kyle Hendricks against Adam Wainwright on Sunday. Not a big surprise there. Blake Snell and Eduardo Rodriguez squared off on Sunday. Both guys have taken a lot of money here so far this season. Little bit of a move on Snell and the Rays in that one, but I would expect both of those guys to take money in their respective next starts when they're not facing each other. Saw some heavy money on Frankie Montas as well for the A's against Drew Smyly and the Rangers. A's against the lefty. It's been a profitable angle for a lot of people. Anytime they face a lefty, they're taking money. Monday, we saw some money come in on the Cardinals and Michael Wacha against Sandy Alcantara. About a 20-cent line move when that line peaked. I do like Alcantara and the Marlins for the first 5 there in that one. Wacha just not pitching well this season. But The Cardinals off that sweep against the Cubs. They were very invested, very motivated when they lost that series to the Cubs the first time. Went and beat the Phillies in the next game. We'll see if they do the same thing here in this one. Very, very heavy Rays money on Monday. The A's with lots of travel trouble. They had damage to the plane, couldn't take off, had to bring in a new plane, couldn't fit all the cargo on it, had to overnight all their stuff to Tampa Bay. So, rough day for Oakland, to say the least. I like the Rays minus 1.5 tonight. Caught it at a plus money price. It was minus 110 when I first recorded. Unfortunately, obviously, with Blog Talk Radio holding the show hostage, not much value in that for you at this point in time, because you'll probably hear this as that game is being played or maybe after it's been played. So I apologize for that. We saw some Tanaka money come in on the Yankees against Jason Vargas. But, again, my apologies here for the late show and the late release time of the show. I will say, if you do get this late, I do like the Dodgers on the first 5 run line, minus half a run, looking to fade Griffin Canning, taking on a much better lineup than most of the ones that he's faced so far this season. Did have success fading him against Oakland last time out. We'll see if that happens again here. But Dodgers minus half a run on the first 5 run line, the official play here with about 4 hours until that game goes off. All right, so let's look at the week ahead here. Let's start with that A's and Rays series. Could be some long-term hangover on this trip for Oakland. Tanner Anderson tonight against Charlie Morton. Mike Fiers against an opener on Tuesday. Likely Ryan Stanek, and then probably Jalen Beeks. With Jalen Beeks being the bulk reliever and a left-handed guy, maybe that's an over opportunity for us there on Tuesday night. And then you've got Brett Anderson, and to be determined on Wednesday. I think Yanni Chirinos probably gets the straight start there in that one for Tampa Bay. But these are some tough spots for the A's here. Long trip, 4 games in 48 hours in Texas with that doubleheader. So could be some sort of hangover here in Tampa. I would not be surprised, not only if they lose this series, but if they get swept in this series. So Rays series price, definitely worth looking into. But of course, that series pretty much starting as you get the show here. Dodgers and the Angels. Hyun-Jin Ryu, Griffin Canning tonight. Kenta Maeda, Felix Pena on Tuesday. Would expect an opener for Pena, but Pena's a guy that sucks. A lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls. Not great against the Dodgers. So the Dodgers in 2 pretty good spots here in this series. The Cubs and the Rockies. The Cubs out at Coors Field, taking that great offense on the road. Yu Darvish, Herman Marquez on Monday. Jose Quintana, Peter Lambert on Tuesday. Lambert made his debut at Wrigley Field, pitched very well. Now he gets the same Cubs team again, but gets them in his first career start at Coors Field. That's a very scary spot for Colorado on Tuesday. Then Cole Hamels and Antonio Senzatella on Wednesday. Do like the Cubs here in this series. Cubs series price looks good. We'll see if I do have a play on them on Tuesday. We'll see what that line looks like to go against Lambert. But I think a couple of tough spots here for the Rockies in this series. Finally, the Brewers and the Astros. You got Freddie Peralta, Brad Peacock on Tuesday, Brandon Woodruff, Justin Verlander on Wednesday. Look, I'm probably going to take a shot on the Brewers on Wednesday. Justin Verlander, low BABIP, high left on base percentage, high home run rate. Brewers do hit some home runs. Brandon Woodruff's been very, very strong of late. Very good against righties. Righty-heavy Astros lineup. I'll probably wind up on the Brewers on Wednesday, hoping for something in the plus 165, plus 170 range. Anything higher than that is golden. Anything lower than that, I'll dig deeper into the handicap. But probably do like the Brewers there for that game on Wednesday. But a fun little 2-gamer here. 2 very progressive organizations. And it's always fun for me when teams like that get together. On Tuesday, we'll chat with Brad Powers about college football. On Wednesday, we'll chat with Brian Blessing about the U.S. Open. Thursday, another edition of the Bettor's Box. So very, very busy week here on Bang the Book Radio. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And remember that you'll never strike out when you're in the Bettor's Box.